Hi, I'm Joe Denler, General Counsel for the Elite family of companies and Director of Claims for the InterNACHI RPG insurance program. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the other parties that are involved in claims against home inspectors. The sellers are almost always a party in any litigation involving a home inspector. They create particular problems for us because they have the most to gain and the least to lose. Generally, home inspectors have no insurance coverage available for a claim that they failed to disclose a defect in the property to the buyer. What that means is that the seller is then obligated to use their own money to pay for their own attorney and to contribute to any settlement or judgment. This is problematic because most sellers don't have the means to do that. And unfortunately, we end up, as representing the home inspector, have to take up the cause of presenting the primary defense, even in the case where a seller is usually the most culpable party. The other parties that are almost always involved in these claims are the brokers and agents for both sides of the transaction, the buyers and the sellers. When we talk about the legal risk to a seller's real estate agent, it usually follows the same risks that go with a seller: a failure to disclose a known defect to the buyer prior to the sale. The buyer's agents and brokers usually end up as defendants, and the claim usually relates to their failure to provide their client with adequate information about the condition of the property that was either disclosed in the home inspection report or disclosed by the seller. In those situations, the buyers may have a claim against their agent, but more importantly, we may want to assert a claim for the home inspector against that agent, as the agent may be the most culpable party in that situation. The other parties that do come into these claims from time to time are attorneys, where you're in a state that still uses attorneys to close residential real estate transactions, and also the contractors that might be hired to make repairs or replace things that you may point out in your home inspection report for the buyer. With the attorneys, it follows the same rationale as it does with the sellers and buyers agents. If the attorney has actual knowledge of a defect and fails to disclose it to their client, they then can be liable to the client. For contractors, it's a little bit different. Generally, they end up in the case where you've recommended certain repairs, the seller hires somebody, a contractor or some other specialist, to make those repairs, and the repairs are either not done properly or in some cases not actually done at all. In those situations, the contractors would end up in the case. But primarily, the main players in all these cases are the inspector, the agents, and the seller. In each of those situations, you need to understand that any of those defendants in this claim can make a claim against the other. It's the legal equivalent of saying it wasn't me, it was them. And that's why in most situations, all of the parties in the case, whether you're the plaintiff or the defendant, are adverse in some respect. It's our job to represent you, but it's also our job to make sure if there are other parties that may be responsible for a loss that's being blamed on you, that we make sure that they're responsible for that loss. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you again soon.